It's very, very windy out on the lake here. I have my hand over the microphone. The wind's still, I'm sure, cutting through it. I had planned on going skiing because the snow is wind packed and it's beautiful for skiing, but it's just too crazy wind. It's about minus 13 or minus 14, and the wind chill must be minus 25. Anyway, the wind's just howling, so I'm going to go for a snowshoe and just see what I can see. I'm just tucked behind a little island here in the lee of the wind. The wind is just howling. Just howling. Had to put this balaclava with the nose piece on to prevent frostbite on my nose. But I suffer from the plague that all us prescription glasses people suffer from, and that's I'm fogging up because some of the breath is coming back up underneath the glasses. So I'm going to have to switch face gear here. So I'm trying a new neoprene face mask here. It's got a little metal band around the nose so it could pinch it down the nose, and it's got a big beak with that shoves the breath downwards. It's terribly uncomfortable. It wraps around with Velcro. It's too small. It's tight. And you can't drink water. You can't pull it down and drink water like the other one. So we'll give it a try. It's already starting to fog up here. I'll give it a try and see how it goes. I've been coming down the lake that way, and I'm at a narrows here where a small lake chain flows in. The current is coming through here, and there's an island there, and an island there, and an island behind here that constricts the flow, and you can see a melt hole right there indicating thin ice in this little channel. Now it's not a river per se, but all lakes are rivers, and they're just slow moving, and it just takes a little current to create thin ice. So when I approach these narrows, I always come up on the shore and never walk, you know, between narrows and a lake. I'm out of the wind. When you're out of the wind, it's not that bad, especially when it's sunny. It's only about minus 12 or minus 13, but man, that wind. I took that neoprene face mask off. It was very uncomfortable and had some problems with it, so I'm going to tough it out. When I pull this up over my nose, the glasses start to fog, and I have to pull it down, up, down, up, down. I have a new anorak here with the hood, and I don't have my fur ruff attached to it yet. It has a zipper for attaching it, but I have to get a wolf pelt and have it made into a ruff, and that would provide some wind protection around. But the hood's kind of hot while I'm hiking with the snowshoes. So I'm out of the wind here, heading into a smaller lake from my home lake. And I've been here many years ago. There's an old portage around the corner there. I'll have to keep my eye open for hazardous current, because that lake flows into this one. So I'll just give it a big bypass and see if I can find the portage if it's not all totally blown in. There's the creek. It's flowing in there, so there'll be some hazardous thin ice right there. So I'm going to do a bypass and go over there. That's the route I took around here to avoid hazardous conditions there. There's the creek. You can see some thin ice there. And here's the portage. So we'll see if it's passable. It's very short. I'd say under 50 meters, maybe 50 meters on the map. And from my memory, I've been over here before. We'll see if it's full of blowdown or not. There were a few blowdowns, but it's only about 50 meters or so, and here's our next lake. The outflow for this little lake goes right through a crack in the rock there and down. So you don't want to walk across here. And just out there I can see a patch of frosted water. It's a patch of thin ice with the frost flowers on it. So you just got to be careful of the flow patterns and don't walk across flow patterns. Well, right from the get-go I got into some slush. It feels like sort of jello when you're walking on it. Check this out. See that? Slush soaking through. There we go. Now I just got some ice on my snowshoes. It'll flash freeze, but I can bang that against the other snowshoe and knock it off. But don't want to be walking on that. So I'll scoot around the shore and see if there's any dry spots. The ice is still really thick here. It's just weighted down with heavy snow. Now this is amazing because we've had -30 nights, -20 to -30 Celsius nights for about the past month, and there's still water pushing up through the cracks and being insulated by the snow. Yep, there's slush under the whole lake, but there's enough snow on top and a little tiny crust in between the slush and the snow that so far so good. So there's actually a lot of snow here, but the snowshoes aren't sinking too far because there's a little bit of a frozen crust in between the slush and the top snow. But if I dig through, I can find the slush. But this is okay. You can look back and see if the slush is soaking up in your tracks, and it's not, although it could later. The snow by the lake shore is very deep and unpacked. That's where all the snow from the lake gets blown up. So it's, if you can walk along the shore, but it's tough going. The snow's 3 feet, 4 feet deep. So if you can get on some wind pack, it certainly helps. And try not to fall into a slush hole. Found a little place out of the wind. Just stomped out a bench here. My snowshoes and my mitts. Got a bit of sun. Bit of sun, bit of shade. I wasn't able to get to the north shore of the lake for full sun. But this will do. The snow is deep, close to shore where the wind can't get at it. I'm taking a breather here out of the wind, and saw this snag with a nice woodpecker hole in it. This is an old jack pine snag. That was probably a nest at one time, and that's a feeding cavity from a pileated woodpecker. So that could have been a pileated woodpecker hole or another woodpecker hole. And you'll see all these holes. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of them all over the snag. There's one. These are exit holes of Sawyer beetles. The adults emerge. The adults lay their eggs on dead conifers. The larvae live inside and eat the wood, and then they bore a hole out when they emerge, and out they come. So this is probably what the woodpecker was feeding on, was Sawyer beetle larvae. There'll also be ants in this, and they would have been going for the ants. Well, I have snowshoed to the end of this second lake here. There's actually a creek that comes out there. You can't tell because it's deep snow over top. And this is a portage. I don't think it's maintained. It's a bit of a bushwhack up there, only about another 50 meters into a pond, which then goes to another pond. However, it's 4 o'clock, and I've snowshoed about 5K, and my back hurts right now, and I'm tired, so I think I'm going to call it this the apex of today's snowshoe trip, and head back now. And I think it gets dark. Should be getting dark around 6, so I've got 2 hours of daylight to get back, and I'm going to be snowshoeing real slow. Oh well, what the heck. I climbed the hill, climbed over a couple of blowdowns just to see the pond, and there it is. The outflow is right through there, so you wouldn't want to walk anywhere there, of course. Okay, now it's time to head back home. 5K snowshoe hike. Oh man, that was a windy, cold snowshoeing day. It started at about -14 and got up to -10, but there was a wind chill all day long. It is so nice to come back to a tent that's got a wood stove in it. At last. Oh yeah. Hot drinks.